comparative advantage theory. Our second theory is the comparative advantage theory. Comparative advantage theory. Having known the first theory, the absolute advantage theory, that a country can have an absolute over, production can have an absolute advantage based on the output. Again, we have got the second theory, and this theory is to do with the comparative advantage. So who started this? Who discovered this theory? We have seen that the first theory was discovered by a Scottish guy by the name of Adam Smith. But now, what about this theory, the comparative advantage? Comparative advantage was developed by an English economist. He's an English from England. English economist by the name of Ricardo. Ricardo. So developed by an English by the name of David Ricardo. So David Ricardo. David Ricardo was the one who developed this theory, which is known as the comparative advantage. And he developed this theory in 1817. If you check carefully, if you study the timeline, this is happening, studying that timeline, you will notice that from 1550, when the Mesatile came up with the theory, then came other years, which is 1776, Adam Smith is coming in. Then came another decade of years, past so many years, 1817, to be so specific, 1817 is when now this guy is coming in with what is called the comparative advantage. David Ricardo. David Ricardo is not arguing with Adam Smith's theory, but Ricardo is just adding other information from what this guy Adam Smith said. He is saying that's very true, that indeed for a country to be a country, according to the first guy the Mesatile said, they must be wealthy in form of gold. But again, according to Adam Smith is saying, it's just because there must be an absolute advantage over the other, especially based on the output and specialization. This one again is trying to more or less like duplicating what the first guy Adam Smith was saying. He's saying, apart from specialization, we have to say, if a country has to do very well, it has to compare. That's why this one is called comparative advantage. You have to compare. Where are you doing well? If you look at the first one, absolute advantage, which one has got an advantage over which one? Oh, this has an advantage over this. You go by that. But this one is now trying to compare. You are trying to compare the product. Can be the very same tea and the rice. You compare, which one do you go for? Say, then you will take this one. Then you use that to up to the 8. You are trying to compare items. You compare two items. You say, which one can I go for? You go for that one. You are not looking at according to absolute advantage, because in absolute advantage, you are not trying to compare the two. But you take something that has an absolute advantage. It has advantage over the other based on the output. You can have this, but what be the output? You can have this, what be the output? Then take the one that you see that the output is very, very well. You say, I think I will take this one. But for this one, the comparative advantage, you are taking the word comparative. You are trying to compare. You compare items. You can go. For a good example is this one. You are working. You are for school at the same time. You can compare the two. Going to school, going to work, they can be paying money. But I've got a chance that I can continue my masters. But again, they are at work. They are saying they will be increasing salaries every month. Where? I think, let me choose. Which one can help me? They said, it's better I go for education, I go to school. Although you'll be increased. So when you are having that one, you are having comparative advantage. You are comparing the two and you take the one that you think that it is can suit you. That's what it's called, comparative advantage. So when you are comparing again, your specialization is coming in. You can't compare. There is that gain from specialization and the trade. So comparative advantage, what is it saying? Comparative advantage is saying that it's an ability of nations to produce goods and services more efficiently than other nations, but an ability to produce that good more efficiently than it does any other goods. It is saying comparative advantage is just inability of nations, not ability, but inability of nations to produce goods more efficiently than any other nations, but an ability to produce. At first it was inability to produce goods more efficiently, but an ability to produce that good more efficiently than it does with another goods. At first you are looking at that there was that inability of nation to produce goods and services more efficiently. But again, it's saying then an ability to produce it more efficiently than it does any other goods. You are looking at first, you say, you are looking at first, you are having that inability of producing goods. Inability of producing goods more efficiently. You have that. But at a certain point in time, you have got that ability to produce it than any other goods, or services. So you are trying to compare. At first you were struggling, but now you find that yourself, you have excelled, that you are producing it more efficiently. A very good example, I'm again coming back to that of Teeland and Riceland. Teeland and Riceland. Right? Efficiently. You can produce, you can look at, you can have two. You say, this one, we are not producing it very well. We are inability to do it. But after some time, you discover that you have got your ability to do the other way around. You go that one which you know that you can produce very well. So it's again specialization is coming in. Again choice is coming in. Where are you choosing? If you are comparing the two, you go for something that you think that I think you can do it very, very well, rather than it cannot work at all. So you have to, at least you have to make sure that you are you have that mentality of choosing the one that suits you, that suits your mind, and then you see that this one at least we can take it, and but this one we cannot take it. It's more or less like that you can produce. You are comparing. You can have the very same tea. You can have the very same rice. The output can be the same. I mean, the whatever can be the same, but you look at the value of what you are saying. You can have 5 bags of maize and 5 bags of rice, 5 bags of tea. Both are 5 bags, but what will be the cost that you discover that I think the other one, it is, if you sell it on the market, it's going to produce more money than the other one. Then you go for the one that you think that it is producing more money. That's what this guy is saying. I will give you another, again, the very same area handouts that you have to look at that. But now, if you look at that one, it has the assumptions and limitations. It has assumptions and limitations. I'll give you, and then we'll discuss. There are several assumptions and there are several limitations of these theories, or each and every theories. Like this one, the comparative advantage, it has the assumption that sometimes there is a problem of countries engaged in production and the consumption of goods or services on their own. What they are doing is they are failing to think of the outcome. Whatever they have, they are just there to just use it for their own country. They are failing to take that one and then sell it or look at the production. That's another problem. That's a problem. They are failing to. There are several assumptions. I think I'll give them to you, and then you will get them, I think, as we'll be going out of this lesson. I'll prepare handouts and then I'll give it to you, so that you see the assumption of this absolute comparative advantage. Then I think that there is another one which is known as the factor proportion theory as the third one. We have the factor proportion theory. Let me just explain about the factor proportion theory, and having explained about factor proportion theory, then what is the theory all about? The assumptions and limitations, again, you see them, you can go through that later. But now, the factor proportion theory. Factor proportion theory. Why is that these theories are being discovered by these guys, the whites, what? But in Africa, they were, I don't know. Maybe you will discover with your own theory. Now let's look at factor proportion theory. If you look at this, there's no combination based on these theories. Again, factor proportion theory, right? This is theory. Factor proportion theory was a theory that was developed early 1990s. If you look at the timeline, factor proportion theory, around 1940s, around early 1990s is when factor proportion theory is coming in. Factor proportion theory. When talk about factor proportion theory, the one who studied this factor proportion theory, the factor proportion theory. Factor proportion theory is sometimes known as endowment theory. It is sometimes known as endowment theory. Endowment theory. Factor proportion theory. Endowment theory. This was developed by two guys. And those who developed this one were Heckscher and Ollis. Let me get the early Heckscher and Bertin Ollis. It's called the early Heckscher. Early Heckscher. Let me just take the right spelling for Heckscher. Early Heckscher and Bertin Ollis. Early Heckscher and Bertin Ollis, they developed a theory and they called this as factor proportion theory or endowment theory in around early 1900s, sort of like that. Around 1940 something to 1930 something, they came up with this theory. You see, we are coming from 1500, 17 something, 18 something, and we are coming up to 1900. It means the other theories that just developed in 1980s, just very recently. Now, when you look at this one, early Heckscher and Bertin Ollis, they came up with a theory called the endowment theory. In other words, sometimes this theory, which is known as the endowment theory, is sometimes, apart from saying it's factor proportion theory, endowment theory, sometimes we call this one as a Heckscher-Ollis theory. Is sometimes known as a Heckscher-Ollis theory. When I talk about Heckscher-Ollis theory, I'm talking about factor proportion theory. I'm talking about the endowment theory. Anything to do with the Heckscher and proportion theory, when talk about proportion theory, or I'm talking about the endowment theory, is to do with this Heckscher-Ollis theory. What is this theory all about? It's a theory. As actually I have said, a theory is ungrounded information. Ungrounded information. Information that has just been proved by someone. But you just prove it and you say that it can work. So these guys, they proved something and they said it can work. And they called that as the proportion theory. What is this theory all about? So the theory explains that it states that countries produce and export goods. Countries produce and export goods that require resources in other words, factors that are abundant. You export goods that require resources or factors that are abundant, and import goods that require resources in short supply. The theory states that countries produce and export goods that require resources or factors that are abundant and import goods that require resources in short supply. This theory is looking at, these guys are saying, for countries to do very, very well, they have to use what are called factors of production that you led. Remember, we have got several factors of production, 4 of them: land, labor, capital, and enterprise. So it's looking at these factors of production. Endowment theory, this one. He's saying, apart from these guys, they are saying, oh, you have countries that do this, another one countries that do this. But again, he's saying, apart from all what they are talking about, for countries to be a country, to do very well, are some other factors of production. And these are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. That's what he said. That's why he's calling it to be like factors proportion theory. Factors is coming because of those factors of production that you already learned. Land, labor, capital, and enterprise. This guy. And then the fact that he's saying is comparing again, he's looking at import and export. He's saying, if a country do very well, why can't you go by, you have got abundant issues, things that you can produce in your country, you can produce because you have got land, you have got labor, you have got capital in abundance. Why can't you export those things? So that, because the moment you export, you are inviting more money to come into your country. Your country will be so rich if you export. Than importing, taking things into your country while you know that you are poor. This one is just, they are just trying to discard importation of goods and services. It's saying it's better you export, because when you are exporting, you are inviting money to come into your country rather than importing. Because the moment you import, it means you are importing something, you are just taking money, buying that thing, you are making your country to be poor and poor. That's the deficit is coming in. So let's encourage my countries to export. If you're here in Malawi, we are so backwards simply because we only depend on importing. Look at the way we are. We have got plenty of cars here. Where are they from? Japan. Our money is just going to Japan for no ground. That's why our even rate, our currency is weak and very weak. It's very weak. It's going to be very weak. Our currency, simply because we have imported more. Our export is tea. If you look at how many tons of tea have we exported, very few. Look at which crop can we export. We don't have a crop that we can export. What we need is just to import, That's why we're just taking our money to those countries, and we will still be poor and poor. So this exchange, their friend and Oli is saying, no, countries can only be rich if they produce goods and services based on factors of production. And the moment you do that, take some other commodities, take some other things, you can export them and you can get more money. That's the story. It has drawbacks. The theory has got drawbacks, and again, you see, I will think you can look at that. Therefore, he's looking at capital, land versus labor, and even capital equipment. You see, capital, the amount of money that you dig into, the amount of money that you pump in when you are starting work, is looking into capital. That for a country do well, why can't it has to have capital? Labor, people, and this labor, it can either be skilled or unskilled people. So the fact that you have got skilled and unskilled people, they can do very well in terms of at least accumulation of digging into gardens and whatsoever. And again, we have got labor, capital, and then the entrepreneur itself, the enterprise itself. The way you can do it, you can do your work matters most. Therefore, we are looking at this in balance, that even if you can have land, but if you don't have labor, you are zero. You can have labor, but if you don't have land, it's nothing. So all these factors of production, they have to work hand in hand for things to do well. That is what is Eli Hoekstra and what the friend is saying here, right?